What is up, weather enthusiasts? I'm your host, Pat's Path Predictor. Let's get right into the weather. Alright, so here's the situation we have for you, ladies and gentlemen. We have Tropical Storm Phillipe now approaching the Lesser Antilles. The cone now has it heading for the Leeward Islands. We have Invest 91L not lagging too far behind at this current time. And we also have continuous thunderstorm activity in the Caribbean as of right now. Also, conditions are getting a lot better over there, so we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. But as we are looking at this right now, here's what we have for Tropical Storm Felipe. Is re-strengthened to a 50-mile-per-hour tropical storm. Its minimum central pressure is now 998 millibars. Its current location is 17.5 degrees north or 53.7 degrees west, and it's moving at 9 miles per hour to the west direction. So that's what we have going on right here. Here's the cone pulled up as of right now. Is expected to remain a tropical storm in the next 5 days, in the next 3 days as it's approaching the Lesser Antilles, the Leeward Islands, and the Virgin Islands. Then it is expected to become post-tropical while impacting the U.S. Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico with very, very heavy rainfall as we look further into this. So that's what we have going on at the current time right now. Here's the situation. It's moving at 280 degrees. Tropical storm force winds extend out 205 miles from the center. That's part of the reason why the pressure is as low as it is for a 50-mile-per-hour tropical storm at this current time. Currently located 620 miles east of the northern Leeward Islands, so we'll have to pay very, very close attention as time continues to go on. Here's the discussion as of right now. Visible infrared and microwave imagery depicts that Felipe is a slightly better organized system this morning. A burst of deep convection continues near the east ends of the center. In addition, earlier AMSR and SSMIS microwave passes indicate that a convective band has been developing on the eastern side of the circulation. However, visible satellite images within the past hour depict that the low-level center is becoming partially exposed on the western edge of convection. That the latest data T number is 45 knots. That's what they're going for as this time. Felipe is expected to remain in a sheared environment over the next few days. However, the GFS vertical wind shear forecast shows a slight decrease as of right now, which may allow the storm to withhold convection near the low-level center a little bit stronger than what was previously anticipated. Felipe is forecast to move into a slightly drier mid-level air mass, which may also inhibit overall convective pattern right there. The storm has not gained much latitude this morning and continues to mainly move westward around 280 degrees 8 knots. Felipe is currently steered by the flow of a weak mid-level ridge and is expected to move west-northwestward and then start turning right after that and head towards the Lesser Antilles. So that's the latest discussion according to what we have with Felipe. As you can see, 50 miles per hour for the next 24 hours, then gradual weakening as we get towards the Lesser Antilles. However, we'll have to wait and see how that happens. It's really going to depend on how strong that wind shear is as it's approaching there. Because if it gets to a point where the wind shear just unexpectedly collapses, then things could get a lot worse really quickly. So that's what we have going on with Tropical Storm Phillipe right now. If you are in the Lesser Antilles, you are now in the direct path of this system right here. So please be sure to keep a very close eye out for this. And this next area of interest is Invest 91L. Here's what we have going on as of right now. Showers and thunderstorms have not become any better organized in association with a area of low pressure roughly halfway between the Cabo Verde Islands and the Lesser Antilles. Environmental conditions are forecast to be conducive for development, and a tropical depression or storm. That's interesting. They're saying a tropical storm is expected to form in the next day or so. That is interesting right there, and that's I want to actually go ahead and check tropical tidbits to see what 91L is looking like. They're having this around 30 knots or 35 miles per hour, but that's interesting the way the NHC is wording this. So we'll have to keep a very close eye on it as time continues to go on. It's expected to form in the next day or so while the system moves west-northwestward. Additional information, okay. 90% chance of formation in the next 48 hours. 90% chance of formation in the next 7 days. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Things are starting to really heat up right now. We'll have to keep a very, very close eye onto it. And as we continue to get into this active weather period, be sure to check out my friends over at Prestige Weather Consulting. They do one-on-one weather consulting catered for your local area. For more information, you can find a link to their website in the description down below. And be sure to use code PREDICTOR for 50% off your first month. That's what we got going on for you, ladies and gentlemen. Be sure to check out Prestige Weather. They've been doing an excellent job so far. But with that being said, we're going to go ahead and show you the European model as of right now. Here's the European currently as we get into this right now. Here's the European. Here's we go. This Felipe is continuing to kind of meander in the Atlantic Ocean right now before turning towards the Antilles. And interestingly, the European has this thing kind of killed off before it gets there. However, I've been looking at the structure of the system as well as the other models. We'll have to still keep a close eye on it for sure, but it's still getting better organized despite an unfavorable environment. Either way, it's still going to bring a lot of rainfall to the Antilles, to Puerto Rico, to the Virgin Islands, maybe even Hispaniola if it goes far enough west. So, yeah, this is going to be an interesting scenario while this system right here gradually organizes and develops as it kind of approaches the Antilles before starting to make a turn to the north, mainly due to a trough that starts building up. And it's an interesting kind of cycle that we're seeing, interesting kind of path that we're seeing according to the European. Next model run we're showing you is the GFS. GFS has been very interesting so far. GFS is Felipe really heading towards the Antilles, mainly, most likely keeping its low pressure reading according to what I'm seeing as of right now, as it's approaching there, bringing lots of rainfall. But the GFS actually has this new area of interest, 91L, becoming gradually, not just gradually, but quickly organizing and strengthening into a potential hurricane while staying out to sea. So we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. And the GFS also has this thing start to pop out of the middle of nowhere. That's like, what, 10 days out? Don't trust it at this point. I'll keep an eye on it for sure, but do not trust that. So that's what we have from the GFS model. Next one we're showing you is the CMC model. The CMC has been pretty interesting to say at the very least, to be honest with you guys. The CMC has been showing a bunch of stuff starting to potentially pop off in the Caribbean, as well as showing what's been going on with Felipe and 91L. The CMC has Felipe kind of just dying off as it's approaching the Antilles, but then it starts to bring its low pressure kind of back. And the CMC and 91L kind of do a little bit of this dance. This is known as the Fujiwara effect that the CMC is potentially calling for. The Fujiwara effect is when two tropical systems kind of start to dance around each other and then eventually merge into one system. It doesn't mean that two systems are going to collide and form one massive system. That's not how that works. That's not how that works. Rather, fortunately, what happens is the weaker system gets absorbed into the stronger system, and the stronger system, depending on how strong it is, may see a bit of a boost in intensity, but at this point, that's likely not going to happen at this point. And the CMC has this mainly staying out to sea. However, the Central American gyre, starting around October 4th, starts to show some organization and development in the Caribbean Sea. And considering where this is with the insanely warm water and huge amounts of ocean heat content that is over there, this thing is getting down to a 998 millibar tropical storm, which, if that happens, that's going to be a huge problem for anyone that gets impacted, primarily because of how quickly this thing can intensify. So that's what we have with the CMC. We can go ahead and even pull up the wind shear. Yeah, at that point, the wind shear in that part of the Caribbean is not even that bad, so this thing could easily organize and develop and use that shear in the Gulf of Mexico to kind of help improve its structure and expand the outflow quite a bit. So that's what we have with the CMC model. NavGem has been pretty weird, to be honest, by all accounts. The NavGem's track has been and intensity has been quite weird. So please bear with me when I show you this. The NavGem has two tropical storms, kind of close buddy with each other as things go on, and then Felipe starts heading towards the Lesser Antilles, kind of stalls around that area before being dragged by this other tropical system, which will soon be Rina, and while the while just continuing to strengthen into a stronger and stronger hurricane. The NavGem actually has this thing approaching the Antilles as a Category 1 hurricane while strengthening and stalling over those areas, which means anywhere that gets impacted, that's going to be a bad news bears if the nav gem is the correct model. However, I don't exactly like this track right here, primarily because it's so unusual. And again, everything with Felipe has been unusual so far. So we'll have to keep a very close eye on it. But if we see something like that with the intensity the nav gem is forecasting, that's going to be bad news bears for pretty much everyone in the northern Leeward Islands, as well as potentially the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico, mainly due to winds, maybe storm surge, potentially even flooding as we look into this. And now the last model we're going to show you is the Icon model, which has been a very interesting situation pulling up. The Icon has Felipe approaching the Antilles and Puerto Rico as a tropical storm or tropical depression, then moving west towards Hispaniola, bringing some flooding to the west, to the eastern tip of it, while starting to re-strengthen and re-intensify as it moves further and further out to sea after it impacts Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic. So that's the situation we have according to all the models. Well, again, we'll have to keep a very close eye on it as we see more and more data come in. Now we're going to go ahead and show you some global sea temperatures, the ocean heat content, and the wind shear, as well as pretty much all the other conditions that are going on. Global sea temperatures across a lot of these areas still record warm at this point. Where Felipe is right now, it's in about 28 to 29 plus degrees Celsius or 82 to 84 degrees Fahrenheit waters, as it's still moving further and further to the west towards the Antilles, which that's going to put that's increasing. That I'm looking at with increasing alarm. Excuse me for stuttering right there. And the reason I am is because let's say the wind shear just weakens just a little bit. Felipe could potentially take advantage of it if it continues to organize and show signs of that and kind of fight back with the shear that's already there. So that's what we have. We have 30 plus degrees Celsius water, especially with that Caribbean gyre and that the CMC is forecasting 30 plus degrees Celsius or 86 plus degree Fahrenheit waters all over the place. So that's what we have with the global sea temperatures. Next thing we're showing you is the ocean heat content, as strong as it ever is. OHC across much of the Caribbean is 150 plus, which in layman's terms, if you don't know exactly how much energy that is a ton of energy. It's so much energy that these things could explosively intensify at a very fast rate. We all saw what happened with Lee, and that wasn't even in 150 ocean heat content. It went from an 80-mile-per-hour hurricane to 165-mile-per-hour hurricane, an area of, I'd say, 100 to 125 max ocean heat content. That's not even tapping into the Caribbean or the best part of the main development region like Felipe is expected to. So we'll have to keep a very, very, very close eye on that as things continue to come in. Last thing we're showing you here is the wind shear at this current time. The wind shear in the western part of Felipe has been starting to weaken a little bit. If we go ahead and show you that as of right now, we're starting to see weaker and weaker wind shear to the west. It's mainly staying more and more to the north and east of this system. It's still going to cause some problems, however, but it's getting the conditions are still getting better and better as we see more and more stuff coming up and more convection starting to potentially fire up closer and closer to the center of circulation. So that's the situation we have going on as of right now. We're going to go ahead and close the video out right here. I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you are new. It helps us out, helps us make more videos like these. The goal of this channel is to get more people engaged with weather. But with that being said, have a wonderful day, guys. Stay safe.